All right, so this is stress test. Now, one test is seeing if I can stay focused long enough to finish this story. I think I can. I'm just that kind of guy. Started it yesterday, kind of got my feet back under me, and I'm going to read through the words that I have so far, and then we're going to continue this on, hopefully finish it. All right, so stress test by Jay Wilburn. Josh Wilkes registered for his 7:30 a.m. outpatient procedure at 7 o'clock sharp with his wife by his side. She never seemed to leave him over the past week of off and on chest pain. This would not be the last time he registered today, but he would not leave the hospital alive today either. Everyone wore masks and the chairs were roughly 6 feet apart from each other. Josh didn't really care if they got answers today. He just wanted to get out of here before he caught one of the virus variants harassing the world this year. They let him back, and his wife reluctantly stayed in the radiology waiting room as Josh went on to get injected with the radioactive tracer dye. Let's say the chemical cocktail came in a metal tube like the plutonium in, let's say, from Back to the Future. From Back to the Future. Josh felt silly sitting in a smaller room with people easily 20 or 30 years his senior. If this was what 50 felt like, he was doomed. Not to mention he was wasting his time because it had to be a gut thing. No one had chest pain for a week and went on living if it was really heart stuff. All right. He got his initial scans, was hooked up with leads, and then started walking on the treadmill. He clutched his chest within the first few seconds, but he could see the EKG from where he walked, and there was zero change. His heart fluttered once, and then again, not a blip from the machine. It felt like his heart skipped a few beats, and the pain turned into a crushing weight. But no signal. I need to put that in here just for clarity. You don't usually edit in that, but I think it helps here. But no signal that there was anything wrong, so he kept walking. It had to be a gut thing. Maybe that hernia that came up from your stomach. He couldn't recall the name, but he also had no gut issues. Everything was working smooth and solid. Every gut problem he looked up, the only symptom he had was pain. It was mostly in the wrong place. So he prayed to whoever might be listening that it wasn't a heart thing after all. Okay. As they led Josh to the final blood flow scan, his heart throbbed with agony. They pulled him up from the table quickly and had him remove his leads in the bathroom. He held the wall for balance. As soon as he stepped out, they already had someone else on the table. Let's say this was a real heart scanning assembly line. Before he could catch his breath, a volunteer old enough to be his dad led him up the hallway. The guy was spry compared to how Josh hobbled and wavered from side to side behind him unobserved. Darkness closed in from the edges of his vision, and Josh mumbled, "I don't feel so good." If he was heard, the guy never turned around before the world went black. Josh Wilkes sucked in air as he sat up in a leather chair with arms. Across from him, good Lord, Jay, spell a few things right. Across from him, a guy in a brown suit with a long beard shuffled through papers on his desk. Let's say on the desk between them. What happened? There was no pain in his chest, at least. Where's my wife? She's back there, and soon you'll be here, the man said without looking up. The fellow's brown suit was striped. It was all the same color, but shiny material alternated with matte brown to form the stripes in the low light. His beard was combed straight and neat. It had to be treated with beard oil. I had to be treated with beard oil to look like that. The guy wore one of those old-time rounded hats. Josh couldn't remember the name of it. The chain to a gold watch looped. I don't think it lopped. Let's make it looped. It looped up into the vest pocket of his suit. Josh half expected him to pull it out and claim he was late for a very important date. Josh started to ask again, "Where's my..." Then he noticed this office setup sat in the middle of a massive factory floor. Level after level of catwalks climbed walls that rose into what would be the sky if this weren't a closed room. Massive machines, pistons, and pump arms worked with a steady rolling hum. He smelled... Let's say he inhaled. He inhaled the aroma of oil. He felt passing heat in waves. All the things that denied this was a dream, but there was no factory this large anywhere, and no explanation from him. No explanation for him to be waking up in a leather chair in the middle of one. Let's say the middle of this place. It looked like an engine room of some impossible ship. Maybe some sort of comic book dreadnought. Okay, we'll leave it at that. What the hell? You're not fully here yet, Mr. Wilkes, but we can get started on the paperwork while we wait. Wait for what? He still couldn't pull his eyes away from the massive machine works and the tiny people going about their business miles away on the catwalks. This room was so large, he was surprised not to see clouds forming under the ceiling. For you to finish crossing over. Josh whipped his head forward and his heart gave another of those flutters, but without the pain. Crossing over? You mean dead? That's what I mean. Okay, there's no reason for that to be a question. That's what I mean. I'm dead? This is the afterlife? You're not finished expiring yet, but you wouldn't be here if it weren't in the offing, Mr. Wilkes. Damn it, Josh breathed. It was just supposed to be a stress test, outpatient. Oh, his poor wife, their kids. There's nothing that can be done, nothing at all. Nothing by you. Before Josh could respond, the world, this version of it, vibrated into a blur. It came with crushing pain. Then everything returned to focus along with the machine noises and dirty lubricant odors. The fellow across from him held his own chest for a moment before returning to the papers, so he felt it too. What the hell were these machines doing? And what was that awful vibration? Okay, very good. Moving along. Is this heaven? The guy gave a non-committal sound in the back of his throat. Hell? I'm in hell? No, nothing like that. You have several options once you're fully over, but we can't discuss all that until then. We have a lot of intake to get through, though. Are you ready? To get through, though, let's say in the meantime. Are you ready? No, I'm not. If I'm not dead yet, I want to go back. You can't, the man said. It's not up to you, and everyone goes through that pulse of blurred pain rolled through the factory and office area again. This time Josh got a sense that everything was being erased. What is that? Are they shocking my... Oh. What is that? Why is that happening? Alright, we'll do one little thing here. Interference, the man said. Alright, so let me spell interference correctly. Interference, the man said, from over there. Okay, let's say he was real quiet. Like he didn't care to dwell on it. Alright, let's say over there. Back in life. Are they shocking my chest? Okay, so that makes more sense. I needed it to look like he might... Oh man, I just made that smaller. Okay, let's expand that back a little bit. Okay, not what I meant to do. I am destroying this. Okay, goodness gracious, Jay, let's... Alright. That's still not where I want it. Oh, for goodness sakes. Alright, that'll do. Good grief. My computer finds new ways to bother me every single day. Alright, over there, back in life, are they shocking my chest? Alright, no. The guy shuffled some papers. Let's see. They are rolling you in a wheelchair to the ER. I'm dead in it? My heart stopped? No, not yet. You're mumbling about it being a gut thing. I'm still talking? I'm still alive? Alright, so let's have him say, how? Yes, Mr. Wilkes, but you wouldn't be here if... Where is here? Who are you? This is after. Registration for after. I'm Cassengale. Cassengale. Are you an angel? Another of those non-committal noises. Okay, if I'm still talking over wherever, then I'm still alive. Technically, but I'm telling you this is where it ends. Let's say, or rather, the next phase begins. They'll fix me in the ER. I'm already in the hospital. Look, Mr. Wilkes, everyone has adjustments to after, but everyone goes after eventually. You're on your way. But I'm on my way to the ER, Cassengale. True enough, sir, but I'm telling you that they are as backed up as we are with that virus. I just had a test. They'll find what's wrong. Cassengale shuffled some papers and tapped on one. You have a blocked lad. What does that mean? It means they won't find it in time. They are swamped and you'll be sitting there too long. So you know when I'll finish dying, Cassengale? Another non-committal grunt. No, you answer me. When does it end? I don't predict the future, Mr. Wilkes. And I spelled his name differently this time. One cool thing to do with characters is to spell their names the same way every time. So take that as a pro tip. I just do intake and that's why you're here. So they could fix me. Let's say so they could fix me. So very unlikely. But if I go back and tell them it's this lad thing, they'll let's say know what it is and fix it in time. Crushing pain, blurred out world. Cassengale clutched his chest and his desk as things returned to focus. Oh, Mr. Wilkes, I wish you'd stop doing that. Wait, I'm doing that? Is that me trying to get back? I don't want to encourage this sort of false hope. Josh stood and leaned over the desk. I can fight my way back. If I'm still there, then I can fight it. Is that it? Listen, you need to accept, but he didn't. The next wave of blurry agony tore him from the factory floor. Josh Wilkes slowly blinked back in to find himself in a wheelchair and a packed ER. The pain was not as bad as it had been. He started to stand, but his wife beside him clutched his arm, and the dizziness did the rest, keeping him planted. What happened, Lucy? You blacked out a couple times, kept saying you didn't feel good. You got into the chair out of protest. You complained all the way up the hall, and now we're here. Josh looked about like he was trying to find a particular face in the growing crowd. Everyone wore masks, and besides his wife, comma, they were all strangers. All right, let's roll along with this story now. He leaned over to a couple that were fussing over the husband's phone. Excuse me, Josh said. How long have you been here? Excuse me, Josh said. How long have you been here? You don't want to know. He said without looking up. This gave Josh an odd sense of I am not going to spell this right. Deja vu? Is that just how you do it? Alright, I know it's 2 words, right? Deja vu. Okay. This gave Josh an odd sense of deja vu. Something about a desk in the middle of a factory. Something about a desk in the middle of a factory had to be a dream. Okay. Got an odd sense of deja vu to go with his persistent chest pain and dizziness. The woman answered, since 7:30 last night. No, let's have her say since 7:30. Josh looked down at his watch. Okay. That was only, say 7:30, 8:39. That was only 2.5 hours ago. Maybe this wouldn't be too bad. Okay. Last night, she added. 7:30 last night. Jesus Christ. Others around them groaned as well. All right. Lucy gave her husband a sympathetic but impassible, let's say unyielding, but unyielding look. I'm sorry. If I could convince you that I could walk out of here without falling over dizzy, I would. She patted his arm as if to say, that was that. They called his name, and Lucy pulled him into another room. They asked height and weight. They took his blood pressure. I just had a stress test, he said. I just had a stress test, he said. I just had a stress test, he said. I just had a stress test. There is no test you're going to run that will find out more than that. So get those results. We'll do the best we can as fast as we can, sir. A woman said without looking up from her computer. The memory of that dream from the factory passed through his mind again and was gone. They ran an EKG that showed nothing, just like the one on the treadmill, just like he expected. Then it was back to the lobby for hours. The longer they didn't call back that woman from last night, the more his hope waned. Sitting in an ER for hours allowed Josh to learn the details of many people's lives, and sitting in the ER for hours allowed Josh to learn the details of many people's lives and their medical histories. All right, there was no privacy out here. There's no privacy, let's say, or secrets out here. The woman, let's say the elderly woman across from him in pink pajamas. The elderly woman, let's say, in the wheelchair in the wheelchair. Across from him in pink pajamas had broken her back a few days ago. The man, say the tall man over to his left, also feeling chest pains. Had complications from surgery a few days prior. Another 86-year-old man in the corner behind Josh was told if he fell again, he would die. Now they had him propped up in a chair. He spoke very loud and reminded Josh of one of his late uncles. Okay. Josh rubbed his chest and sighed as they entered hour 4. Is it getting worse? Not great, he told Lucy. All right. If you could walk, would you make me take you home? He sighed again and said, this may be the fastest way for us to get the stress test results. I want to know something. Someone coughed thick and wet across the room. They must have had the virus. Josh rethought his position. Back, Kedman. Thanks for being here, buddy. They must have had the virus. Josh rethought. Oh, a raid. Starborn Striker, thanks so much for the raid. I'm writing a story about a guy having a heart attack because last week I had a heart attack. So we're going to make that into a fictional story of sorts. So thanks, everybody, for the raid. If you decide to hang out for a little while, I appreciate it. And we're going to be writing a story. So if you find it interesting, stick around. If you got something better to do, I understand. Oh my God, are you okay? I am, all things considered. Again, it was my lower anterior descending artery was 100% blocked, and they had to put 2 stents in to save my life. And considering that I came back from a heart attack, I'm actually doing pretty well. I'm glad to see you were doing okay, getting something good out of that kind of experience. There you go. I'm gonna use it for story details. Now, not everything I'm writing in this story is real, obviously, especially the supernatural parts. But I'm picking and choosing the pieces that I use. But all things considered, I'm doing well. I'm tired, but I'm recovering okay. I'll be careful. Thanks. I have a lot of health issues, so this is just kind of a culmination of a few things that were going on. So it's not just that I was eating poorly or anything like that. Although I am eating a very particular diet now that they've put me on, and the meds and all that kind of stuff. But not the best way to welcome people in from a raid. But I was in the middle of that discussion, so we're writing about this fellow named Josh who is bouncing back and forth between the afterlife and trying to stay alive, even though he doesn't realize that's what's happening to him yet. All right, so someone coughed thick and wet across the room. They must have had the virus. Josh rethought his position. They rolled him back again. No worries, we're glad to hear that you're recovering. I just finished a scene for my novel this morning. Good job, good job. A lot of writers underestimate just how much that just steady getting a thing done each day or as you roll along goes to getting the work done. So we're all here to encourage each other, I think, to get more writing done. All right, they rolled him back for an X-ray. The year could have started better. That's true, but if you do have 100% blockage of the Widowmaker artery, it's a good way to start the year where they fix it. I have cardiac rehab coming up here, so I'll have 12 weeks of 3 days a week where they run me through physical therapy to get everything back up to normal. Thank you for the follow. There is some measurable damage to my heart, but the doctors believe that it can be repaired. So now that blood flow has been fully restored, they think that a lot of that muscle strength will come back. I started tracking my word counts a few years back, and it has made a huge difference. I can see now how small eventually adds up to big. That is correct. Yeah, more authors need to do that. A lot of authors, when they only feel like writing 100 or 200 words, will just skip a day, and they don't realize that just writing that little bit actually helps. Write tomorrow. It also helps that you get 100 or 200 words down, and suddenly you'll get on a roll and really get going. So thanks again, everybody, for being here, and thank you for the follows and the raid, of course. They rolled him back for an X-ray. He did that sitting down. Then they rolled him to blood work, which, of course, showed nothing. I hate this, he said. You don't have to stay. The woman shaking his blood said, "We'll take care of you. Take care of you." Let me roll that up. I know I got a little sign down there at the bottom. We'll take care of you. Let's do this. It will just be a long wait. Are you married? Josh asked. Yes, why? Because if you are married, then you should know that going or staying isn't entirely up to me. She laughed, but in a way that showed she didn't really find him all that funny. Let's say they rolled him back out. But his spot was taken. They moved his wheelchair. Up a hallway where other people sat. Lucy squatted on the floor beside him. Time to get to know new people. Okay. Let me put that as a new paragraph. Time to get to know new people. One black kid hurt himself at work, and now he was stuck here. A man with his wife needed a transfusion. A man with his wife needed a transfusion. He was on chemo. And they sent him to the ER. She pulled down her mask to call the clinic to make an appointment somewhere else, but they told her there were no appointments. She cried, cursed, hung up, and held her sleeping husband's hand. They looked younger with their masks on. I'll say Josh caught a glimpse of himself in a mirror earlier, and he thought he looked older, pale and older. Pain stabbed his chest, and he breathed through it. Lucy walked to the admin desk and then back. They say you can get food. What do you want me to pick up for dinner? Josh looked at his watch and groaned. He was coming up on 12 hours since he checked in, since he registered. He was at, so 11, 10, he was at 9 hours in the ER alone. Just sandwiches will be fine. She kissed him and walked out. He slumped over his painful chest. And endured. His vision wavered and then darkened. Pain hammered. He tried to pull a breath, but didn't get much. Oh, Jesus. He said, too quiet to be heard. I don't feel so good. All right, so we have him wake up. All right, okay, got to sleep. Thank you, Jay, and everyone else. All right, thank you, Kedman. I know you're on the other side of the world, so have a good night's sleep there. All right, Josh sprung awake in that leather chair, and that impossible factory floor across the desk. All right, I'm going to lurk for a few more minutes while I grab lunch. Sounds good. Appreciate you hanging with me. Josh sprung awake in that leather chair and that impossible factory floor across the desk from Cassingale with his perfect beard, suit, and hat. He remembered everything then. Oh God, I forgot about that artery thing. The lad. Yes, that. Did I die? Cassingale sighed. Not quite yet. But seriously, just relax. This happens to everyone. No, if I'm alive, I can be saved. I've sat for 9 damn hours. I can go on. Cassingale shrugged. Maybe for a while. But I already have your paperwork started. This won't take long. No, you send me back and let me remember what is wrong to tell the doctors. It doesn't work like that, Mr. Wilkes. Well, make it. No, I need to make this a new paragraph. I didn't get my indent down there. Hey, thanks for being here, man. It doesn't work like that, Mr. Wilkes. All right. Well, make it work like that. I'm still alive. Let's not screw around. Mr. Wilkes. Josh. This is inevitable. This is going to happen. You said you couldn't predict. I can't pinpoint the time or exact circumstances. Josh, but you all die. Every one of you. But that isn't the end. There is after, and we should talk about it. So tell me, what's so great here? I get to work in a massive factory for eternity? No, nothing like that. Then what? Cassengale took a deep breath. But then hesitated. He shuffled a few papers, cleared his throat, and then said, "We need to wait just a bit longer. Sorry. Because I'm not dead yet, right?" Josh stood. Cassengale leaned back in his old-fashioned desk chair and said, "Calm down. There's nothing special about still being alive for a little while. I disagree." Alright. Cassengale rolled his eyes. "As you wish, Josh. Why are they not seeing the lad in their tests?" Cassengale stared a moment, but then shuffled papers. The blood test didn't show tropolines. I don't think that's the right word. I think tropolines is what I'm looking for. No, I'll get the spelling later. It's the chemical in your blood that shows if you have had heart damage. The blood test didn't show tropolines. They have to catch it shortly after it happens. The stress test will show a blood flow issue. But they still won't know where exactly. They'll schedule a heart cath if they find it in time. But you're running out of time, Josh. You need to accept that. Josh closed his eyes and mumbled to himself. What are you doing? Cassingale asked. Josh continued repeating things under his breath. Are you trying to memorize what is wrong with you? You can't take it back with you. Josh opened his eyes. I'm still alive. An explosion of pain ripped through them and the factory. Are you okay? Josh raised his head and blinked away the darkness. His chest still hurt, but it was subsiding. Josh raised his head and blinked away the darkness. His chest still hurt, but he was subsiding. It was the woman with her sleeping husband who had asked. Josh shrugged. As good as can be expected. He looked over and saw a pair of EMTs move a man from a stretcher into another wheelchair before they left him. People coming in ambulances were getting dumped in the waiting room too. That guy slumped in his chair and looked half dead already. Josh leaned out and saw the woman from last night was still here. I'm going to die here. Lucy returned with 4 sandwiches. He ate 3, along with 2 and a half bags of chips. He felt better. Felt better, but not good. Where are the kids? He asked, as more people filled the ER, with few going back for care. They're at home. They ate. They're fine. You need to put them to bed. Let them know everything is okay, Lucy. I don't want to leave you here. I'll text you as soon as I have a room. Eventually, she agreed, and Josh leaned over his own aching chest again. He startled awake when a nurse called that all family members had to leave, so there would be seats for patients. He checked his watch to see he had long passed the 12-hour mark being in the ER. Okay. All right. He checked his watch to see he had long passed the 12-hour mark being in the ER. His heart throbbed, and the whole world blurred. He tried to draw a breath again, but barely pulled any air. Fear passed through him, turned to anger in his oxygen-starved mind. A fat man from registration passed him. Hey, my chest hurts. I'm having trouble breathing. Someone else called at the same time, and the man stopped further down the line to talk to her. Screw you too, Josh mumbled. A security guard swept by faster than Josh could speak. Alright, the security guard swept by faster than Josh could speak. Alright, his lips went numb, and his fingers felt swollen and cold. The guard walked back quickly. Hey, my chest. He kept going. Josh forced a deep breath and yelled out, "Hey, my fucking chest hurts, and I'm having trouble breathing." The security guard turned like he wanted to fight, but then said, "I'll get somebody." Instead, he walked to his screen and typed something. Don't knock yourself. No, say don't put yourself out, asshole. Life faded in and out. The guard finally moved to the nurse at the admin station. Say at the nurse tech in purple at the admin station. The guard finally moved to the nurse in purple at the admin station. He stood and approached Josh, but the world went dark before he arrived. Oh, to hell with you, Cassengale. Josh stood from the leather chair and paced. Good to see you again, too. Cassengale held up a folder of papers. There is nothing to be sad or afraid of. You have lots of options for after. You need to trust me on this. You need Cassengale? Yes, Josh. You need to give up on my cooperation. Cassengale braced himself before the blurry pain swept over them again. Josh opened his eyes, lying on a bed. The nurse withdrew a needle and called out, "Tell the doctor his tropes are up." Someone outside the room said something Josh couldn't make out. His tropes, the nurse repeated. His tropes are up. Tell the doctor now. What does that mean? Josh managed to ask. They indicate a stress event on the heart. Possibly damage. A heart attack. Someone else said. They moved Josh to a chair, to another chair in the back hall of the ER itself. They failed to get an IV on one arm, but got it on the other. I'm giving you a shot of heparin to thin your blood and keep this from happening again. right behind that nurse. Another hooked him up to a drip of the same stuff. In short order, the cardiac team came by in small groups to introduce themselves and explain the heart cath scheduled for the next morning. Josh texted Lucy to tell her not to come, but she did anyway. Around 3 that morning, she went back home to rest and get the kids up in the morning. Josh didn't sleep well sitting in that chair, and he quietly hated everyone around him who did sleep. The medicine drip at least eased the pain. He asked for Tylenol a few times during the night, but never got any. The next morning, he moved to a bed, but was still in the hallway. All right. The next morning, he moved to a bed, but was still in the hallway. All right. Josh texted to tell his wife to be there by 11 for the surgery. But something came up with the kids, and she was late. He texted her again to tell her they were moving him. She texted back, but then his phone finally died. She texted back, but then his phone finally died after all those hours. As they rolled his bed from building to building, he tried not to think about it. He knew something could go wrong. All right, he knew something could go wrong. He might not see her again. But if he thought too much about that, he'd break down in tears. He needed to stay calm. When they got him to the prep room in the building they called the Heart Tower, there she was. Josh breathed through his shaky relief as she helped him undress and get into the gown. All right. He hated his toes. There was some sort of fungus under the nails, under the big nails. He never could seem to kill. I wish I had socks. Lucy leaned out and asked the attending nurse, "Can he get those hospital socks?" Josh had no idea what his wife was talking about. But the nurse brought bright yellow socks with white rubber treads, and he felt a lot better. Everything was fine, and the nurse gave him a Valium along with a couple other pills to prep for surgery, and the sleeping agent they would give him in the operating room. After a few more minutes of chit-chat, Josh said, "This stuff isn't working." Lucy said, Lucy patted his shoulder. "It's probably just to calm you down." Then it hit all at once. He couldn't focus on the tree patterns in the curtain. Everything wavered. Holy crap. It's working now. What do you see? couple of everything. She laughed, and it echoed. Oh my God. You remember that ER? We were there long enough. All those machines and that desk in the middle. Right? What? The machines that filled that giant factory. Remember? Sure, Josh. Yeah, everyone that came into that ER left with Humpty Dumpty's egg. Happens every time. Lucy laughed and took out her phone to write what he was saying before she forgot it. Josh stared down at his bright yellow feet and said, yellow is impervious to Green Lantern. Josh sunk down into darkness with the echo of Lucy's laughter. Josh sat in the leather chair, staring across at Cassingale, who slapped the folder against his crossed knee, saying nothing. Well, Cassingale tilted his head. Well, what? Well, what, Josh? Are you not going to sell me on the after? Cassingale shrugged. You giving up? It was never up to me, Josh. But it was up to me. I kept fighting, and I kept going back They're fixing me. Okay, hold on. Let me fix a capital here. We're getting to the home stretch here. But it was up to me. I kept fighting and I kept going back. Now they're fixing me. They're going to find it. That lad thing. Right. Okay. Cassingale shrugged again. Still bouncing that. Hold on. Still bouncing that folder on his knee. Cassingale shrugged again, still bouncing that folder on his knee. I can't predict the future. Where am I now? This is intake for the after. You know what I mean, Cassingale. They have you on the table. You'll come in and out, and we'll see. We will see. Josh said, as he blacked out without all the pain and blur. He woke up on the table. His arms and body were tied down, but he didn't know it. But he didn't notice it. The doctor was obscured behind plastic. People were still moving around. Are we starting? He asked. 25 minutes in. Someone out of his sightline said. Is it finished? Not quite yet. I'm awake. Not quite yet. I'm awake. That's fine. You'll be in and out. It's not the same as anesthesia. I know I'm not going to spell that right. Let's see if the computer can spell that right. If not, we'll come back to it another time. They're 25 minutes into the heart cath. Josh told Cassingale who drummed his fingers on Josh's folder in his lap. I know. They're going to find that lad thing. Probably. I'm not staying here. I was never rooting against you, Josh. I'm just here to receive you and give you your options for your next life. Wait, reincarnation? That's what happens after? Cassingale sighed. I'm not supposed to tell you that yet. So which religion was right? None of them. Don't worry about it. All right. We're in the home stretch here. I'm going to get this finished here in just a second. All right, none of them. Don't worry about it. Okay. I'm awake again. Really awake. You're coming in and out without realizing it. Is it going well? You'll be fine, Josh. Just hang tight. Am I asking too many questions? It would be good. It would be good if you let us focus. Okay, how much longer do you think? They went on talking to each other as Josh faded back out. All right, we're almost there. Appreciate those of you hanging with me to see what happens. Maybe the story's that interesting. Who knows? Josh went in and out a few more times, but never really say, but never remembered where he went once he woke up again. Everyone appeared to be cleaning up. 2 women seemed to be sitting behind glass. Josh couldn't tell if it was a reflection or not. The doctor was still concealed behind plastic. Then there was that guy with a beard behind the desk. That guy smiled at Josh and said, "Good luck, Mr. Wilkes." "I'll see you when you are ready." Okay. "Good luck, Mr. Wilkes. I'll see you when you're ready." "How many people were in here?" Josh asked. 4. It seemed like more. They told Josh and Lucy Wilkes. They told Josh and Lucy Wilkes that it had been the lad, the lower interior descending artery. It had been 100% blocked. It took 2 stents to repair, and he'd need 12 weeks of cardiac rehab. When they posted it on Facebook, person after person called that the Widowmaker and said it had killed someone in their family. Josh was told again and again he was lucky to be alive. He felt lucky. It felt like a close thing. He had his heart attack on a Tuesday, same day as the stress test. My heart attack was on Wednesday, but this is a different person than me. He had his heart attack on Tuesday, same day as the stress test. and was home on Thursday. Life stayed surreal for Josh Wilkes for a long time. He felt very much like he was on borrowed time. Every little thing he did, he'd think. Every little thing he did, he'd think that if he died on Tuesday, on that Tuesday, he wouldn't have been here for this. That surreal feeling, the surreal feeling stuck with him for a very long time, along with dreams of a factory with machines that chewed up people and took their souls.